Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Daily Political Tarot and Astrology here on the Black and Orange channel. Thank you for being here. I am here every single day of the year to take your political questions out of the chat. Just leave your questions in the chat before I come on. We have epic troll slayers who keep us safe, and we have got a fantastic community because of your kindness. You have been so kind to each other and so kind to me. Thank you. And if you're watching on replay, hello. Don't forget, you can go down in the description box. All the questions are listed there. I timestamp them as I go. So you can pick and choose what you're interested in, or you can watch back on a higher speed, or whatever works best for you. So, hello, hello. All right, and these are today's nails. So, they're kind of fun. All right, and I'm using the Aquarian Tarot today, the Aquarian deck. Okay, so... Yes, Lois. Meow Palooza. I love that. All right. Hello. I heard it's somebody's birthday, and someone I believe has asked me to sing. So first we'll just cover what's on today's episode, and then we'll do that fun thing, and then because as I explained in vivid detail yesterday. Oh, dear great Gussie, are we in a not very nice astrological pool of energy right now? This too shall pass, but so on today's episode, Big Brother is watching. Reports are coming out from Reuters that the DOGE team is using AI to track hostility to Trump and Musk among government workers, specifically the EPA, including the possibility they are listening outside of business hours on their company phones. Okay. Justice Roberts issued a temporary stay on the ruling that the man erroneously sent to El Salvador needs to be returned, pending a full court case. Well, look at that. And shock. Billionaires are reportedly starting to turn on Trump because he's costing them money. Who would have thought? So, excuse me. But it is Teresa's birthday today, so happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Teresa. Happy birthday to you and many more. Happy birthday. I hope it's wonderful. I hope you have a great year ahead of you. So, all right. This is what we do here. We try to celebrate wins and good things, and I bring different arts every day and the whole thing, and we raise the vibration because then we look at the news together, news with friends, because the news these days is a wee bit harrowing. All right. So let's jump in at 4 minutes in. Big Brother is watching. Oh boy. Reports are coming out from Reuters that the DOGE team is using AI to track hostility to Trump and Musk among government workers, specifically in the EPA. This goes as far as monitoring what is read on official devices to what some are claiming using work phones to listen to conversations after hours on private time. Oh, bring on the lawsuit. Ms. Gibson says, I think they're all paranoid. That's what I think. The government workers or Muck and the dumpster? As I've said before, that's all it takes. They're going to love me. Today is video 2325 on this channel, and I have been criticizing this blankety blank for 2,325 videos. Yeah. Hi. Anyway, tell me, apparently this just came out from Reuters, so there hasn't been time for anyone to file suit, but oh goodness gracious, they should. So, this is very much the idea of it's better to beg forgiveness than ask permission or whatever horrible thing. So they push and push and push. Oh, thank you, Miss Gibson. Sorry. I got a big old justice card right in the middle. This might not go down well. Secrets. And chaos. They have very bad intentions, but no, this is in secret. There is Dumpy himself, the dumpster. President Dumpster. 3 of Wands, waiting for their ship to come in, keeping an eye out. What's going on? I've got Justice right in the middle about this action. 2 of Cups, partnership. Yeah, this isn't going to stand. Yeah, this is a good way to end up in court. Yeah, that is utter and complete invasion of privacy. Yes, so Tra-la. Unbelievable. Maybe that's why they're getting these super young. Musk has been grabbing these super young guys who he hasn't quite twigged the damage they're doing. That's all I can think. Okay, so hello. Yeah, let's just we'll move on to at 7 or 8 minutes in. Oh boy. So Nettie was asking about Justice Roberts, who issued a temporary stay on the ruling that the man erroneously, wrongly, illegally sent to El Salvador needs to be returned now, pending a full court case. Will we be seeing the lower courts in a huge fight with the higher court, which keeps reversing their orders when they're following the laws and the Constitution, and the Supreme Court is following a madman's wishes? Well, okay, here's the thing. My understanding is that this man's lawyer is actually relatively optimistic about this. And there's a possibility also, what I'm hearing, so we're not sure yet, but what I'm hearing is it's possible that the dumpster fire administration is actually going to try to use this case to get more power, that they have the right to do this. Therefore, they have the right to not only remove people who are here who have asylum or whatnot, but to send people who have green cards to El Salvador or whatever else. Sassy Cat says, please never use that other word with dumpster? Fire? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Anyway, when I read on this the other day, what I was getting is that I was getting that the Supreme Court is not going to go along with what the dumpster fire administration is trying to do with this, because it does away with all due process. It does with this talk about a slippery slope. It's not like, oh, there's a slippery slope over there. It's like, no, we're on one. So what's going to happen here? They didn't give a specific date of when the court case is going to be, but again, there's thinking that it will be quite quickly, relatively quickly. We'll see. Yeah, conservatives not exactly fighting for anybody's rights. 10 of Swords. Yeah, damage. Done. And now this poor man is just stuck. Swords can be legal. So he's just stuck. He was hurt, now he's just stuck. 2 of Cups. People are praying for him, fighting for him in court. They are speaking out. 5 of Cups is disappointment. Well, we are disappointed at this action and that it's staying. Why is this so weak? What is specifically, what is the Supreme Court going to decide about this? Oh, okay. I understand. Thank you. Oof. So what is the Supreme Court? Hey, what are you going to do about this man, about asylum, just being... Is the word I'm looking for... No, I'll have to look something up. Anyway. Supreme Court, what are you going to do? All right, fingers crossed. I read on the collective energy, so there's no guarantee. This is what I do is never 100%. I'm reading on the collective energy. What I'm getting is that this is the card for the reading. It feels like they overstepped. Duh. This is, what they did was really, really bad. What they did to this man was awful. And then the absolute refusal to listen to the courts and to do what's right. Again, people have not given up in trying to save this man. And it ends with, this is charity. This is the dumpster fire administration being forced to do something to help. This is not a card of they're suddenly going to get sweeping new powers to completely destroy all due process and a rule of law. That's not this card. This card is fix it. But it isn't major arcana. I hope they hurry. I really hope they hurry. Mike McClue's asking, how long is the stay time-wise? Does anyone here know? How much time does this delay give the evil ones? My understanding is nothing's been said yet. But fingers crossed. Salty Chip says until 5 p.m. today. For what? The Supreme Court hearing? I wouldn't think it would be today, but honestly, I hadn't heard there wasn't anything set yet. So this is they are hearing this at the Supreme Court. So now we just have to wait. That poor man. All right, so Cosmic Goat Lady had a question because there's some talk, there's some worry. Will there be large protests on the building that houses the Supreme Court? Specifically, and I think this is more, if you'll forgive me, Cosmic Goat Lady, I don't know that it's as much about the protests as will the Supreme Court give Dumpy the right to send green card holders to a huge mega prison in El Salvador when they're here perfectly legal. My ex-husband has his green card. I cannot express to you what we had to go through to get him his green card. They know everything about him. They have every piece of information, document, checks. It's huge. So, okay, thank you. So, is the Supreme Court going to give Dumpy the right I was afraid of that. There might be a few people who end up, they're gang members. You have no proof of that. So, in secret, before they're told no, we have to do what we can to keep people safe. Queen of Swords, there's supposed to be due process. Queen of Pentacles, the Republicans not exactly in a hurry to step up to help like they should. And there's the Emperor. I don't like that it ends with the Emperor card. I don't like that it starts out with us protecting people, you and I, the Democrats, and it goes into, I've been getting that there's stuff they're doing in secret that is really bad, even now. Oh, true. Raymond saying 3 months ago our economy was roaring, stocks were rising, and we were actually funding cancer research. We told you this would happen. Adding insult to injury. Isolation in the sun. They end up on the defensive on the right. Merchants, 10 of Cups. All right, so I'm not getting, for what it's worth, I'm not getting widespread. But I'm concerned about what they're doing in secret. So, okay. Yes, and copy. We told you, Kamala told you, Hillary told you. Yep. Mm-hmm. For those of you who weren't here, Sienna dropped by the chat yesterday, which was great. We love her. And she's Canadian and an absolute sweetheart. And one of the sweetest human beings on the face of this earth. And I started going into questions you brought about American citizens possibly being sent to El Salvador. And she was like, what? It's like, this is where we are. Oh boy. Okay. So at 20 minutes, 15 seconds, and according to, this is from Millie. Millie had a question. According to CNN, billionaires are turning against pumpkin face. Aww. These are CEO investment firms that don't agree with the tariff tax. Are they going to convince him to back off? They're worried about relationships with other countries that can take decades to rehabilitate. Yeah. Will they be able to change the dumpster's mind? Last night, while I was working on, it's going to take me a while to put together the raised beds, the frame for the raised beds, the frame that I bought. And I was working on that, and I was listening to Hal Sparks as I was working on that last night. And he was, at one point, he was listening to Glenn Beck. And Glenn Beck was telling a story where Dumpy called Glenn Beck, and asked his opinion about the tariffs. And Glenn Beck, according to Glenn Beck, said, this is a bad idea. And ultimately, Trump told him, yeah, but I just like tariffs. So he was going to go ahead anyway. And now Glenn Beck is like, okay, so he knows what he's doing, or so it's all about selling the tariffs to people, and Glenn Beck's on board. I have the smallest bit of protest. And I can at least look back on my life. Because there was a point in my life, I've worked in several bookstores over the course of my life, and there was one in particular I was working in, just over a decade ago. Anyway, and I got to do one of my favorite things was when every blue moon, one of the floor managers would ask me to set up a display on an end cap, put the little plastic things on there, and then find this list of books and put them on the end cap for display. Okay. And I did that. I put the whole thing up. I got the books, I put them up. And as I was putting them up, I realized, because usually what you were supposed to do, the order, what to do, to tell you what to do, came from New York. And the main office is in New York. And normally they would tell you, put the books in this order. Well, there was nothing there that said what order to put them in. It was just these books. Make sure these books are on the end cap. But there was they weren't specific for once. I was like, oh. And usually under that, my Saturn on my ascendant, my natural inclination is to put them alphabetically. Or I did, but I put the first one down at the bottom. Because that was Glenn Beck's book. And so when the manager came back to look over what I'd done, I said, by the way, just letting you know, it doesn't say what order to put them in, but I didn't put them in quite in alphabetical order because that would have put Glenn Beck's book right at the top. And so I put him at the bottom, and I've got everything else there. And this person, he stood there and looked, crossed their arms, trying to be very vague about who this was, crossed their arms, looked over and said, all right, and walked away. It is a small thing, but I'm very pleased. So, yeah. All right. Billionaires. This is weak sauce. These are weak cards. Now, the card for the reading is us, happy families. But what they're doing, what the CEO's doing, I mean, I've got the Republicans have a plan, Ace of Swords, Page of Wands, Nine of Wands, Ace of Wands. So those who have gone along with Dumpy's plans are feeling beaten up, but they're not particularly strong, because ultimately he's the one who decides. And I'm not exaggerating or just saying it just to insult him, to say he's a narcissist. And he doesn't have to worry about re-election. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He can do what he wants. So they might complain, but even the market really crashed over the last 3 trading days. But as of this morning, it was back up a little bit, because traders are looking for apparently there's a South Korean delegation on its way to Washington, D.C. to negotiate about the tariffs. And Dumpy's like, yeah, great. So the market is taking that as a sign that this tariff thing, it won't really happen. It won't be a big deal. People just negotiate and it'll go away. So now the market's starting to, it's not cratering like it was. Grace says it's starting to go back down. Okay. But it's even like yesterday, it was down, up, in the green, down, but not that much. So they're looking for any hint that this tariff thing isn't actually going to be a thing. And they may not like the tariffs, but the chaos. Don't forget, this man has your sun in your astrology chart is your sense of self, and he has the planet Uranus conjunct his sun. And the planet Uranus is, in his case, it's about chaos. Bolts out of the blue. You don't know what's coming or going. You can't plan, you can't. But if they can't point to one thing and say, okay, now this is definitely the plan, and then this definitely needs to stop, then they could come up with some kind of force against him, some kind of, I don't know, union of CEOs to work together, unofficial union anyway. But if it's hum and haw and maybe possibly and we don't know, and then it makes it a lot harder for them to fight against, because they don't want to flat out make this man an enemy. And he still has the power to do it. Things used to work, and we used to go shopping normally. That's a card for the reading. What I'm getting is, all right, they're willing to get their lawyers involved. You have to understand, a lot of these CEO, they're not all drug-addled gamers, extreme gamers, as in gaming way too much of their time. Nothing wrong with gamers or gaming, but when it's like the main thing you do and that's not your profession. Yeah, they're not all awful like that. And I can say that because he's admitted. It's not something I'm making up. But these other CEOs, they get up and go. You have to keep it every day. You're checking the bottom line. You're doing this. You're taking care of that. You're answering. There's a shareholder meeting. There's and on and on and on. You've got a to-do list a mile long. It's on and on. So that's what they're used to. Page of Cups, Star, Nine of Cups, that is the merchant card, Nine of Wands. So there's hope here for the merchants, but there's so much that Dumpy's doing. That's a weak economy, but it is still they still have hope, and that's so it's like it tilts in the CEO's favor, but it's not definite, and it's that chaos, which is, how do I put it? Have you heard of melted toddler? I mean, by definition, a toddler is a lot smaller than an adult. Chris Cool, how is your name pronounced? Sebastian. It's Sebastian. Sebastian. What does my family call me for short? I don't. It's really something only my family calls me. So anyway, people who can't handle my first name, just use Autumn. That's fine. Or says it's French. Anyway, melted toddler. You're trying to just, you should be able to just pick up a kid and move it, but they just, and so you can't, and that, it's like with Trump. If he was like, these are my beliefs, this is what I'm doing, this is not going to change, this is the plan, these CEOs would be like, okay, new checklist, we're going to do this, but it's this, it's that, it's the other thing, it's awful. Thank you, Chris Cool. Thank you. All right. Ugh. All right. So, but that was a good question. Thank you. Thank you, Millie. All right. At 3240, Heather had a question. In March, a coalition of conservation groups filed suit over the U.S. Forest Service forest plan, which allows for a 5-fold increase in logging that violates federal law. This month, the dumpster signed an order to expand logging on public lands. Will the forests fall, or will judges step in to save the trees? And anybody who's interested in this kind of thing, sometimes here, but definitely in the afternoon creative sprints, Paula over there really worked hard to get her local forests from being developed. She worked really hard on that, and she is the person to talk to about this. It was very impressive. Oh, hang in there, Deborah. Hang in there. Things are, it's not always going to be like this. But Paula is here. Yes, Paula's in the chat. She's amazing. And Paula, what you did was amazing. So, all right. Forests. The only good thing about this is that now it isn't having to build a factory, but when companies set up, get approval for a piece to cut down wood on a piece of land, all of that, it takes time and it takes an investment. And the fact is, it's not easy to actually set all that up. So yes, there's this far-right victory that allows the possibility of this. Day late and a dollar short. Feeling beaten up. I've got a hanged man, but I've also got an 8 of swords. And what this feels like is people who are going to speak out about this or protest or try to do something about it, they may not get very far, but companies who would set all of this up to do all of this work know that in 3.5 years, everything they've done could just go poof. So are there some people willing to invest that? Probably. But the uncertainty does not work. It helps a little. Katie and Proud, I think I know what you're talking about because we talked about it. Second question. So, oh, chemical squirrel. I'm sorry. Breaking news from CNN. Trump will impose tariffs of at least 104% on China on Wednesday after Beijing missed the deadline to stand down on its retaliatory threat, the admin says. Oh, we've got a question about that, too. Yeah, we're going to have trouble. They're going to, if protesters are going to have a hard time. It's the right thing to do to stand up to protect these forests. Adding insult to injury, there's the emperor. People are going to have trouble protesting. There's not great energy around this, I'm afraid. But, okay, well, just double checking. Trying to see where is there a thing about China in here? No, I don't see it. That's weird. No, there's some other tariff that Dumpy was talking about putting on China that would raise that 104% to like 126% or something stupid. But we'll just look in general about at 38. Tariffs and China. We'll have a quick look at this. So the dumpster will impose tariffs of at least 104% on China on Wednesday after Beijing missed the deadline to stand down on its retaliatory threat. Do you know how much of our stuff comes from China? How many of our shoes come from China? I'm actually looking at some of my slippers to figure out, it's like, I might take one of these apart and make a pattern. Luckily, I work at home, so I spend a lot of, whoops, it's not showing up. All right, go back here. I spend a lot of time in my slippers. Ta-da! Yay! Falling. Fuzzy slippers. That's me. There they are. I spent a lot of time in fuzzy slippers. Who was it who just said Temu is my jam up here? Bern said that. Just so you know, I want to say that one of the ways that Temu's been able to send stuff directly to consumers in the US is there was a law in place about very small packages that as long as the cost of what was in them didn't exceed a certain amount, that they didn't have to pay all the tariffs and what have you. That rule disappears next month, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. So Temu may be off the market, and there is so much of our lives, things in our lives that are manufactured there. So I have 2 cards. All right, tariffs. Just the sheer amount of stuff. Oh, man. Okay. There's a thief card. Boy, this is so stupid. I got 2 cards for the first card. That's the plan, the conservative plan, and this is trying to stand up against it, trying to help each other, trying to, when the price of things spike up high enough, we have to help each other. So put these here. And yes, Joyce, doesn't MAGA merch come from China? A lot of it. A lot of Trump stuff comes from China. There's Judgment. 10 of Pentacles. So the dynasty, the super wealthy, Trump's dynasty, the Emperor, and disappointment. I am concerned about this disappointment card because all of this is so. This is the Emperor and his stupid ideas. This disappointment. Look, China's economy is not as great as some people make out. Some people make it sound like China is great and they're eating our lunch and all of this kind of stuff. No, not necessarily. However, I have also heard some talk, and again, some of this stuff, I'm trying to get information from reputable sources, but sometimes people are talking and I'm not entirely sure. But what I have heard is that China is loosening control over how much intellectual property can be stolen from other countries, specifically the US. Because normally what they would do is, they steal stuff, but then they like tweak it just a little bit so they don't get in too much trouble. And if that's true, China's just saying, oh, you want to play? Let's play. You don't have to tweak anything. Yikes. And it says China's economy is very bad. COVID affected them deeply. Grace says all the students I teach are in China. And what do you think is going on? How's it going? Or any insights, please? So is this China tariff thing, is this going to remain a thing? Because China was already looking at the U.S. pulling out a lot of our manufacturing and a lot of our businesses. So if they were going to lose this stuff anyway, why should they negotiate now? Amy's saying that toilet paper is made in the U.S., so you should be good. Well, we'll see. Let's hope. Because most of the wood used in this country for wood pulp, housing, you name it, a lot of the wood that we use in this country comes from Canada. So, there's the Emperor right there. Queen of Cups. There's the Emperor getting in the way. Two of Wands, far right communication. All right, so maybe some of this is him just running his mouth. But then I've got the institution there, and again, I've got the disappointment. The Child King, who's in the Oval Office, the bratty Child King, he's mad at China. Unbelievable. Where's Mr. Whipple when you need him? I had completely forgotten about Mr. Whipple. Thank you for that. I love references that just go, oh, let's go into the back of your brain. There we go. Remember this? Whoa, no, I had forgotten about that. That's good. Oh, all right. Mark says China didn't finance a stolen election. Okay. Well, stinky. All right, let's look at it. We haven't been looking at a ton of international questions. So Heather had one here. Let's make sure we get to it. At 48, any questions I don't get to, I roll over to the next day. So, I mean, sometimes something, the odd question will fall through the cracks somewhere, not get saved or not get, and I apologize for that. But we really do try to. Sarah helps me a lot of days to make sure that we've got all the questions. And so, all right, but Heather had a question. What does the future diplomatic energy feel like between China and Russia? Will China strengthen or lessen their support of Putin as their power and influence grows? I mean, we can look at there, but if you think China's economy is actually not great, I have no idea how Russia's holding their economy together with toothpicks and bubble gum at this point. I mean, but at least 3 cards on China and Russia. Doesn't feel like they were always super close friends, but now they get, the weaker our influence gets, the more it behooves them to work together. The less influence the United States of America has, the more all other countries start working with each other. Because, yes, we are, well, until now, we've been a very prosperous nation. And yes, we have 340 million people living here. But there are other parts of the world that have a whole lot more. There are about 8 billion people on this planet, and we are only 340 million. The world does not revolve around us. Jeez. So, I'm definitely getting that. Let's have a look at China's power. 51. Is China's power going to grow, wax, or wane? Wax and wane. Isn't that a Cocteau Twins song? Really good one, if I remember correctly. Of course, I can't sing along with it because it's the Cocteau Twins. But, oh, thank you, Sharon. Okay. Is China's power going to wax or wane? Get stronger or weaker? Wow, my brain went full bore on that Cocteau Twins song. It's not only running through my head now, it's really loud. All right, I pulled too many cards. That usually means something. They have a lot of major arcana here. Fruits of labor. People buy a lot of stuff from China. Chariot. Major arcana. Big movement. Going. 10 of Wands. Burden. 7 of Cups. This feels more like the bad working conditions and the lack of the stealing of intellectual property. 3 of Cups. A lot of people have had a better quality of life because of cheap goods from China. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying it is. But the last 2 cards here are the Lovers and Judgment. This is big energy. I can't start with the Chariot and end with the Lovers and Judgment and say, oh yeah, China's going to lose influence and just get smaller, and that you can't get there from here, not with these cards. And the more the dumpster fire, Felon for 47, the weaker he makes the U.S., the stronger other countries get. I'm not usually one who thinks of things in terms of a zero-sum game, because I think very few things are. Surprisingly few things are zero-sum in this world. Some people think that's all there is. And anytime anyone gets anything, it's taking it away from them. And they're called MAGAs. But yeah, as we lose power goes up in these other countries. So Mark says this might spur China into invading Taiwan. To throw that in the chat before I come on, please. Okay. Let's end with Claude's question, because I like this question. You know me. I am a Star Trek nerd. I just am. I love Star Trek. really wish they would. Strange New Worlds season 3, please. Hello. Do they even have a date yet? They are literally filming season 4, and season 3. We don't. Do we even have a date yet? We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. So. Anyway, so Claude was saying, it's often said that reality often surpasses fiction. Could we hope that one day the humans of the future could live in a universe like Star Trek? Could that series become some kind of blueprint for the future? I have opinions on this, but I'm gonna ask the cards. Well, we know that Star Trek has been inspiring scientists for a long time now. It's like, how do we do this? Oh, how do we get one of those? How do we create that force field? How do we transporter technology? How do we do this? How do we do that? It's been a good influence. Eight of Swords. Well, we don't have the technology, and it feels like the technology won't. There are specific, in order for our world to get from where we are to a Star Trek universe, there were very specific things that were developed and problems that they had that happened in very specific order that gets you from here to there. And there's one of the big things about Star Trek you have to remember is they do not use AI the way we will. And there are reasons that yes, there are reasons they ban cloning. There's but they have incredibly intelligent computers, but I mean, Mr. Data. I mean, Data is. It became this whole thing. Does he? There are episodes of, about how many rights does he have as an android? How much, all of these questions that by the time you have the ability to go to these other planets and go into deep space and all of this, those questions are actually quite rudimentary and have to happen sooner, which means that AI has a bigger part to play. Computing, especially since we are about to have breakthroughs in quantum computing, which is going to be massive. So part of Star Trek was when it I'm specifically, I don't know why I'm specifically thinking about Next Generation, but we know that some of the topics they were dealing with in different episodes were issues that we now are trying to deal with. It wasn't all futuristic. Some of that stuff won't be an issue. Queen of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles. So the haves and the have-nots. King of Cups. Well, that's the that could be good. Eight of Cups. That's unfinished. Hangman. We're on a different path. I think we would have to look at specific things specific aspects of the Star Trek universe, but what I'm getting is we're on a different path. But there are core beliefs that we should keep about equality, about opportunity, about merit-based progress, about stopping starvation. But when I read this question, my first thought, actually, to be perfectly honest with you, was, there's cause and effect. And you have to also remember that one of the reasons that the Star Trek universe, that the Earth base, of course, the Ferengi are their own thing, but what happened on Earth and the equality and the lack of using money and all of this stuff, a lot of what happens on Earth came because there was a nuclear World War III. And that's when, after that, when so much of the population had been destroyed and so much of the Earth was really hard to live on, it was after that big changes were made, where it was like, never again, and we're going to work together. So there are certain good things we will carry with us. Absolutely. Star Trek has a lot to teach us. But we don't yet have the series that really encapsulates what our future is likely to really look like, because we're still trying to wrap our heads around the changes that are just over the horizon. Or we're seeing the seeds, the sprouts, the tiny beginnings of now, that are going to turn into just hard to wrap your head around. So, all right. I hope that was helpful. Oh, I'm glad you like the kitties. I like his little socks. All right, so that's going to do it for me for today, but thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It is 1:11 p.m. here in Chicago. At 3 o'clock, I'll be over on the Creative Sprints channel. You're always welcome. And other than that, I'll be back here tomorrow. I'm always around. So come hang out with me, and I'll be back here tomorrow. All right. Take care. Be well. You're not alone. We're in this together. And there are good days ahead. They're out there. Hang in there. All right. I'll see you later.